Hi everyone. In this video, I want to talk about the second part of shooting your subject, and here I'm going to talk about how to frame. So, when I was filming this castle, the word that I cannot properly pronounce, I decided to take a behind-the-scenes video to help you guys understand kind of how I flew and what I was thinking, and to give you a proper behind-the-scenes insights. So I have a couple of videos that I want to show you, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it to that. So this is a raw footage of me, flying my drone from where I'm standing. The castle is over there, and obviously, as you can tell, the time of the day is a morning time. I planned around sunrise because I wanted to get the golden hour of lighting, which obviously turns out fantastic. And it's also less noise. There's not a lot of people that are visiting the castle because it's not really open. So this is a perfect time for me to fly. The day was perfectly clear. The snow had just fallen the day before, so obviously I got a little bit lucky in terms of the time of my visit. So everything just was perfect. And now I'm flying my drone towards my subject. And initially, when I start, I just go ahead and fly towards the castle because as we measured, it's about a 1 kilometer flight. So here, this is pretty boring. All I'm doing is just flying and getting closer and closer. And as we talked about it in Google Maps, this is the area that I really wanted to get my drone to be on. And so here you're going to notice that I slowly, obviously I just kind of paused here because I wanted to just make sure I fully look around to see where I'm surrounded, where I am amongst the terrain and what is in my view and what's in my camera and so on and so forth. So I want to pause for a second here. Now you're noticing that I went from just flying towards the subject to then turning around and trying to already get the perspective of the shot that I want, which is facing that way, the lake being there, and now the castle. So now what I'm doing is I am now flying towards the left part of this terrain, and while keeping the mountains in place. And I wanted to get a balance of getting some white space, the sky, in the frame, while properly positioning the castle in front of my camera, in front of my drone. And now you're just noticing that I'm just getting closer and closer while positioning my drone and really getting that right subject that I wanted. The second video here just gives you a closer view, so I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit, pause. And here you're going to notice that this is a shorter view of me just getting closer and closer. So now I am exactly in that terrain that we planned on Google Map. I have the lake over there. I have the mountains, and the light is perfectly shining on them. And now I'm just getting closer and closer. So when I now get this close to the subject, I start to now switch into how I'm going to take the photo and how I'm going to place the subject on my grid line. So we talked about grid lines in the previous video just real quickly. So if you know about them, great. If you don't, again, I recommend just doing a quick YouTube video. Imagine on my drone I have two lines, left and right, and I have two lines on the top and bottom. And now those lines are on as I'm shooting, and I'm aligning my subject on the bottom grid line. And what I notice here is that this obviously is a pretty good position for me to be in, but it is still far. And so I just now pivot just to see how much breathing room I have, and then I slowly just position up just to make sure everything is safe. I'm not hitting any power lines. The good thing is that there's no power lines. And now you can see that I'm just getting to the perfect angle. And I wanted to make sure, and you're noticing that I'm getting a little bit closer and closer if I press resume. And the reason for that is because I want the details of the castle to be very present and prevalent. So what you want to do is once you get nice and close to your subject, you want to make sure that you spend some time properly framing it and getting those details. And to get those details, because remember, the subject is the castle, not the mountains. So I wanted to make sure that I fly, closer and closer, just so, the castle is big enough and the details are there, especially the towers, the doors. Oh, I don't know what happened there. I think that video stopped. So let me just go back there. And let me just go forward there. because I think that's when I switch probably back into photo mode. And so here I'm just going to pause perfectly because I think this is where I now switch to photo mode. And you can tell the difference between this and this is pretty close, right? And that's where I now switch between photo and video. And so what I do now is when I switch, I inch a little bit closer just to make sure that I can get the full frame of the mountains, the castle, kind of the roadway that's leading up to it, and so on and so forth. And here is when I, choose the right photo, photo shooting mode. So I took all my images in RAW. I make sure that the lighting is good, that I am getting no overexposed information. So nothing here. You see, still blue in the image, which means this is not an overexposed information. Even if you look at the white mountain snow caps, you can see some black in them. So that gives you a good indication that information is not overexposed. That area there, that area is actually overexposed, but that's okay. Those are minor overexposed information, and we can live with that. There's no issue there as long as most of the photo is full of color and information. We are good. One tip that I have as well is when you are now in proper photo mode, what you want to do is you want to capture as many photos as possible of various different angles. So what I did is I took actually maybe what I can do right now is show you some of the images that I took, which is right here. These are my raw images that directly came out of my drone, and you can tell these are in .dng. And what I do is I just have taken various different images with different angles. So when I'm editing them, you see I am like quite left to the castle just to get different perspectives. It's not something that I like because the background is now filled with this terrain, which is not very sexy. So just make sure you take a lot of photos. Just to give you an idea, I think I took actually not as many as I generally do, because I think maybe I was quite content. I don't have a total here, but this obviously is not that many. But just keep filming, just keep shooting. Here I got quite close to the castle, but I didn't choose to take this as my final image because the castle was under construction.